Hey there, it's Mackenzie, your host of Winning. We're looking for sponsors for the podcast. If you have a business that you would like to promote to thousands of people, send us an email at podcastwinning@gmail.com or send us a message on social media. I cannot wait to hear from you. Now on to the show.
Winning is your guide to making it in business. Join our award-winning host and entrepreneur, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and special guests in casual conversations that will educate and inspire you on your business journey. Winning will help you learn the hard lessons the easy way with guidance from celebrated entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's fun. It's informative. It's winning.
Hello, welcome to Winning, the podcast for entrepreneurs. I am Mackenzie Kilshaw, your host, and I have two amazing women here with me today, Deena Simair and Abbie Ginther. Hi, ladies.
Hey.
How are you guys?
Fabulous.
I was waiting for the other one to answer. We're good.
I know, it's a little tricky, right?
The answer is a team.
Talk over each other. I've known Deena and Abbie. Actually, Abbie and I worked together years and years ago. And I've known Deena for, I don't know, maybe not 10 years, but I would say pretty close, 7 or 8. So two awesome women, two awesome entrepreneurs, moms, teachers that are now entrepreneurs, fashion lovers. I don't know. I think there's lots of ways I could describe you guys, but let's start with Abbie because she's here right on my right. Abbie,
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. And where did you start and how did you become an entrepreneur?
Okay, well, I still am not too sure what I want to be when I grow up. I know you and I worked a long time ago, sort of in sales, sort of in customer service back in the day for the government. And that wasn't super fulfilling to me. So I actually went back to school to become a high school teacher, which is how I met Deena. I was a student teacher in her class and I loved teaching, loved everything about it, but just felt like I needed to not be in the classroom and kind of left that. And Deena and I had been writing online and kind of collaborating with women around Canada and US in different style challenges. And we realized that there was a real need in Saskatoon with our friends and our family for sort of people really wanted some help in organizing their closets. And that sort of morphed into selling some of their clothes, selling our clothes, which morphed into an actual storefront, which morphed into 2 storefronts, which suddenly here we are. I don't know if that was about me or the business, but basically I love the community. I love women. I love words. And so I do. And I love writing. I love telling stories and I love hearing people's stories. So when we decided to build a clothing store that was like no other, that was focused on women and their stories and uplifting them, then that was just a really good fit for me.
I love it. And Deena?
Hi. When you go to university when you're 18 and you don't know what you want to do, that's a really hard time to decide what you want to do. And I wanted to be a psychologist. I like listening and I like solving. But then my boyfriend at the time, his mom's like, no, you need to be doing something creative. And so I then decided to be a French teacher because of an exchange that I did. So it's like, I feel like I've fallen into my careers, not by choice, but by like, just kind of a door opens. Yep. So yeah, I started teaching at 21, high school teacher. And I did that for close to 15 years and exited around, like Abbie said, around the same time Abbie did. I wanted to be home with my daughter before she started school. That was my reasoning. And I knew I needed a change, but I also only ever wanted to be a teacher for, those teachers that are like, oh God, not her again. I didn't want to be that one. And it just so happened that I had a chance to leave and I always knew I wanted to do something creative. Now that looked like at one point photography, videography. I feel like I was a professional dabbler in all the things. It just so happened that fashion at that time was, like Abbie said, what we were doing. And that's how Belong was formed.
I love that. I love that it's like you always knew you wanted to do something else, but you don't exactly know what you want to do, right? And I mean, teacher is amazing job and amazing career. But if that's not what you want to do every day forever, I think you guys picked a really great place to go. So Belong Lifestyle, the thing that I love about you guys, honestly, the most is you're so inclusive of every woman. It doesn't matter what size you are, how much money you have, what your job is. Your group it's such a community. It includes everyone. And to me, that is so special and important and necessary, because a lot of what we see in fashion is not, right? You don't see anyone that looks like you. And that's hard, because how do you feel good about yourself if you can't see that? So we'll talk at the end about social media and whatnot, but I love seeing all your posts, and it's just, I can see every person in there. So thank you from women, because you've done an amazing job of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I know I always ask what you dreamed of as a career. And like Deena said, you always wanted to be a teacher, but then kind of that morphed into something else, right?
Yeah, but I feel like also we're still teachers in a way. We're still educating. Like that never leaves. It just doesn't look the same.
Yeah,
No,
we
exactly.
definitely use many of the same skill sets over and over. And it's just been so interesting to see how a lot of the experiences that you have, I know if anyone's listening to this and thinking like, oh, I'm wasting time in this career, time is never wasted. You're always learning new skills and making new connections and new relationships that you don't know how those things will come together, but they're never wasted. It's always usable time and usable skills and usable experiences going forward.
That's such a great point, Abbie, because at the moment, you never know what that will bring you a year from now, 5 years, 10 years, right? Like, even like you and I saying, we worked together literally 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
And we probably didn't see each other for 10 years and came back around, right? So
Yeah.
you don't know where those experiences and connections ever take you. And that's why it's important that you have them, because sometime in the future, someone might reach out and say, will you be on my podcast? And luckily, you guys said yes. So thank you. Okay, so tell me, I mentioned Belong. You guys both mentioned it, but tell me about Belong. Like your expertise, where you started, where are you now? We're going to talk about diversifying a lot on this, because I know where you guys started to where you are right now is similar, but also pretty different. So yeah, tell me about your business and tell me about where you started first.
Picture a snowball, but like a fashionable jacket snowball that just rolls and gets bigger and bigger, and you don't really know what directions it's going, but it's going somewhere, and you just follow it because, well, that's what you got to do. I distinctly remember there's been many different faces in our Belong journey. We weren't even Belong at the beginning. We were called Salt and Light Lifestyle. And that was another fun story in a cabbie's car in Hilton Head, where that name was born. But it was just kind of like Abbie had said, it was just a vision of something that was lacking in our community. It was something that we always had and were able to do. And we just kind of started small, and it was a community building thing. We had few pieces of clothing. We had like maybe for every 5 pieces of straight sizing, we had 1 plus size. And then we just started listening and started seeing what people wanted and needed in their life. And like that fashionable snowball, it just took off rolling, and we chased it.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because we never, in fact, we said right at the start, we would never have a brick and mortar building. Like we would never
that was so dumb.
Yeah. We're like, why would you do that in this world of online commerce, you know? And, but the more we did things online, the more our community kept asking us for a space to come to. And so we ended up doing some pop-up shops of consignment clothing and a little bit of our new clothing that we were slowly starting to dabble in. As Deena mentioned, we didn't have that selection or variety. So we really wanted to start including that. And that turned into an opportunity from another female entrepreneur, Rochelle at Soul Power Fitness in Martinsville, to give us sort of a longer pop-up with some time to get our feet wet and try, you know, what is it like having an actual retail location? And the moment we signed totally different. And And of course, we coming from an education background, not a business background. So then learning all of sort of the retail storefront side of that as well. And the day that we signed the lease on that building, thinking, okay, we're really going to try this. The next day was the day when the kids were sent home from school for COVID. So then we had a really beautiful building to store all of our things for the next for the next few months. And so we really just pivoted again and developed community through social media and made a conscious decision. We're not going to pay for advertising. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to build this organic community every which way we can. And I think, as Deena said, being responsive to our community has been key. So, for example, just this last year, we added in Borrow Buy Belong, which is a clothing rental service. And again, that was looking at that. Okay, so how do we make fashion sustainable, but also how do we make it affordable for everybody?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's
this on the everybody.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, size inclusive. I like what you did there. That was a very teacher thing. But that's so true. I remember when you started, and the funniest thing was one of my staff said to me, "Do you follow Salt Light on Instagram?" I was like, "No, what is that?" Like I didn't know. And I started following you guys, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I know them. I know these people. How did I not know they were doing this?" And so, yeah, like you started with consignment on Instagram, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And then it turned to you have consignment and some new items. And then it turned to you have a storefront. And then it turned to you have 2 storefronts. And then it turned to, I mean, it's just the growth that you guys have seen in just a few years really is outstanding. Yeah. And I think a lot of that, I mean, you tell me, but I would attribute it to the community that you have built.
100%.
Yeah, it's the people. And I think that, interestingly, there's been such a demand for curve sizing, but it's taken probably until this year for women in that range to really buy into our store. And I don't think that's because they weren't buying in the sense of thinking they needed clothing, but people want the selection, but aren't necessarily comfortable in a retail establishment, especially a boutique, which you probably felt too as a boutique owner, that you really have to make people feel welcome because they walk in one time and that's your chance. That's all you get, really. So it's really taken till now. And like you said, something we're continually working on and we're not there yet is making sure that when you come to our feed, you see yourself represented. I don't think we've hit every woman yet, but we're getting there.
Well, you definitely have hit more than the average commerce site, right? I mean, it's just refreshing to see. I don't know, people can't see me, and they always think I'm tall from my posts on my site because I have a tilted mirror, which is the trick, by the way.
This is good to know. I'll take all the tricks.
Yeah, so if you want to look taller, tilt your mirror backwards. I learned that from Google like 10 years ago. Anyways, they're like, they can come in, they'd come in my store and say, "Oh, you're way shorter than I thought." Well, I'm not tall. We'll just say that. And I'm also not skinny. I'm not slim. I'm just an average person. But like, there's no one that looks like me on a ad for a, mainstream brand. And so I can see it on your page. And I'm like, that girl looks like me. And she looks so good in that. Like, I want to go and try that and feel good. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, kudos to you guys and Abbie, you say you're still working on it. You've done a phenomenal job so far. So anything more you do, it's just even better, right? A huge thank you to our sponsor, Just For You Day Spa and Wellness. Just For You is Canada's premier day spa with 5 locations in Alberta and Saskatchewan. The award-winning luxury spa features Leah Reese cosmetics and iconic Betty jewelry that you can also purchase online. Visit www.justforyoudayspa.com to book your service or to purchase a gift card. Good on you guys.
It's that kind of size inclusive, age inclusive, background inclusive thing that we're still, I think we'll constantly be striving for, and that's a good thing. But just kind of like what you said, I think that there's a real awareness now around our visual diet and realizing that we should be looking at images that are uplifting and that are healthy. And that includes seeing someone in our own body that is looking good when you're trying to find clothes or trying to decide what you want to wear.
Exactly. Deena, do you have anything to add?
I think women appreciate it too when they walk in the store and they see real women in the photos on the wall. They see the real women trying on the clothing and they realize that everybody struggles. And I think it's important that we don't forget too that, I mean, we often push our thoughts towards that curved community that have the body issues and issues coming into stores, but there's also all sizes that they deal with those same exact problems. So I think too, like that's one that we can't forget.
Yeah. And I think too, it's when I had my store, I had typically extra small to extra large and some 1X, not a lot, but a little bit. You know, and you'd have a lady that came in that was a 1X and be like, oh, I'm so glad I found you because I had a few things for her. But then the extra small person would also come in and say, or the extra small person, you know, and you'd have someone else in the store and that person would leave and, you know, you might get a comment like they should eat more, or they should, you know, and I always thought like, whoa, like you're going to, like, you wouldn't say that to a, like the lady that's wearing the 1X, would you say she shouldn't have ate as much lunch as she ate before she came in? Like, absolutely not. So it goes the other way too, right? For the really petite people. And I think we also forget about that. So it's all spans.
It actually hasn't happened for a while, but we did get a couple of like body shaming to our staff who were tiny. And it's just really, I mean, and these are young, impressionable girls that you had to like backtrack and do a lot of teaching and coaching and, hey, like, this is not okay.
And that
actually hasn't happened for a while, though, which is nice.
But we did a public reminder to our community because I think that we think that body image has something to do with our external size, like Deena said there, but it's not, like she said. I think that people have the exact same thoughts, regardless of their size, those negative feelings and that voice. And so we see women just as trapped inside their head at a size 2 as at a size 12 as at a size 22. So it definitely is something that we're constantly guarding against. And we want to make sure that our community is safe for all.
That's such a great point. I remember the first time that I started going to the gym in university and my trainer, like I was like, I always played sports and stuff in high school, but I never went to the gym. Like I didn't know how to lift weights. Mm-hmm. So I signed up with a personal trainer to like learn. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I better do it right. And she asked me, what are your goals? Like, what are your fitness goals? And so I'm like 20 years old, probably 19. And I'm like, I want to look like that girl. And like, there was a girl there that was like, not like crazy fit, but like more fit than me. And like, I was like that I could probably look like her. And she said to me, you know that, so you want to look like her. She's like, you know that girl over there wants to look like you. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was like a light bulb moment for me being like, what? Like who would want to look like me? But we're all kind of striving after something. And like you said, Abbie, it doesn't matter what size you are because who I think is like, I want to look like somebody else wants to look like me. Right. And so it's just kind of a,
it's perspective.
Yeah, it's perspective. Yeah, exactly.
So I think really the reason that our business has grown and worked is because we truly believe that clothing is the vehicle that we use to connect and to empower women. And everyone needs clothes. So to go out and, you know, even just what you said, Mackenzie, like you don't know who you're a role model for. And if we take that back and now that we're moms looking at our own kids and the impressions of them and what they see modeled and do they see themselves in someone else, how do we then give them something positive to look forward to and let them realize that they're someone's ideal as well?
That's right. Yeah. And it's so important. I know you guys both have daughters and passing that on, right? Changing the narrative.
Absolutely.
You don't need to look like the girl in the magazine. It's fine. You're you. You know, you're special. Doesn't matter. And size, it's really dumb if you think about it, that what size you are, we determine our value on size. Like that's
especially ridiculous. When it will change, right? Like, and I think we as kids thought, okay, our body changes in adolescence changes when you have babies. That was about it. Like, no, your body's going to change 200 times, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yep. And I think too, the other thing that's important is that they see that vulnerability and they see us go through those things too. And that's always been a very important part of our platform, is not that curated perfection. It's showing our struggles, showing our realness too, which is essential.
Oh, for sure. And really, we're talking a lot of right now about body image and size, which I didn't have on the questions, but I'm glad we got into it because it's so important. But it's also when you're talking about entrepreneurs and small business owners, knowing that what you're going through, probably the person next door and the person, down the street and everybody else is facing the same things, right? And we're all, I read something, I think it was a meme or something, but it was like, we're not all in the same boat, but we're all in the same storm. And I was like, that's right, because we're not all facing things exactly even, but we're all facing adversity or challenges or problems, right? And it's how we get through those things that really make the difference, I think.
I know one of the things that we've really tried to do too is we truly believe that we can be a community and we can work together rather than having that competition. And so that collaboration over competition is important to us. And we've tried to really model that with other entrepreneurs, getting to know people and getting into their businesses and really making a point that we are not here to sort of outdo a different store, or we're here to work alongside. And I think having that perspective and, like Deena said, being real, even with just other entrepreneurs, has been huge in us growing our community, both as a business and then also our community with our clients.
I mean, that's how we started. We were shoppers out of love for shopping. And I mean, that's probably how we came together at your store too, because we liked to shop at your store. Yeah. So when our customers see that we also love looking for beautiful things and going to the other boutiques in our city, in our province, yes. I mean, it's not just belong one way or the high, there's tons of awesome clothing out there and there's some great style. So I think they need to see too that, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, and that's been so huge for us to, like you said, Mackenzie, say like, we're really struggling with this. Are you finding that, to other store owners? And I think often it's kind of like when you see someone even just, how are you? Great. Everyone's like, great. Okay. See ya. There's almost a fear of admitting like, this has been really hard, or this is going wrong, or what do you do with this? And so because we're not afraid to make mistakes or ask those questions, I think we've had maybe an easier reception from other businesses, or at least some people have related to that. Definitely.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I love the collaboration and community over competition. Like, to me, if we all win, we all win.
Right?
Yes. Well, we're all going to win our own little way. We're all not the same. Everybody has their own little specialty.
That's right. And me doing better because someone else is doing worse shouldn't make me feel good. Like, it doesn't, but it really shouldn't, right?
It really shouldn't.
If you can help someone else out, and then it propels you too, right?
Exactly. That's an actually interesting point too, though, to think about. Like, you have all these, let's talk fashion, for example, but any business category would be like that. You have all these people doing similar things in that same umbrella, but it's so easy to get sucked into that. Well, it's working for them, so I'm going to do exactly that type of a mindset.
Yeah.
So I think too, the other important thing is to be able to encourage businesses to find their why and to stick to their why and do the things that work for them. Because what worked for us works for us. It might not work for you. What works for you might not work for us.
That's right.
And we've actually had people come in and say, oh, have you seen so-and-so? They're doing exactly what you do. And we say, that's awesome. Like, I hope so. Like, that's amazing. We don't own, it's not patented that you can have style parties and have someone help you. And that's amazing. We hope that it encourages, or at least makes other businesses think about, how can we get better? And I hope that when we see other businesses, we're thinking the same thing. Oh, I love that idea. How do we grow together?
Well, and I think the thing that people don't see either is how many things we've tried and failed and we just don't continue. We are trying new things all the time.
That's right.
Or we get bored and forget about them.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's true though, right? Because if you don't try, you don't know. And
Yeah.
I think like if I try 10 times, I'm probably going to fail 4 and succeed 6. Hopefully I'm going
Yeah,
to
and nobody sees that,
fail
right?
2.
Like I think, and I for some reason I think as women, and I don't know if this is just as women, but men don't have this thing that is telling them that they are terrible at everything. And we as women do. We're like, everyone's looking at us, everyone's seeing our failures. We don't know how to do something, so we're not even going to try. Like I read a study about women who won't even apply for a job. It's like men would apply for a job if they had 40% of the qualifications, and women would apply if they had 98% of the qualifications.
Which is
And I
crazy.
thought, like, what does that say about our confidence level? Like we have these skills, we have the ability to go and find the answers we need. But we're like, we need those voices saying, like you with this podcast, have the confidence, go for it, and let's help you along your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and find the help, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I made the podcast, because I had people all the time asking me, do you have advice on this? What did you do for that? And then I thought, why am I not doing this for the masses? Because I had a lot of failures. I did. And it doesn't make me any less of a person or business person, because I also had a lot of successes. But if I didn't try out those things, and lots of times I was like, best idea I ever had. And then I did it and I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst idea I ever had. But you learned, right? You're like,
Oh,
okay, why didn't this work? What about it didn't work? And then you move
Yeah.
along, because you're gonna
And
adapt that, and next time it's gonna be great.
I feel like those stories are important because we see the end result, right? You're sitting here talking to us. We have this beautiful store. We have people who are into it. You didn't see kind of the last, 3 years of ups and downs and hearts and failures, right? So that's a good thing to keep in mind. A lot like social media, we see that perfect image. We don't necessarily we know what it's taken to get to that.
That's right. And you never know what happens behind closed doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what somebody is going through behind the scenes,
Yeah.
because most of the time, and that's why I appreciate that you guys also are open and transparent, and you show the bad things, or the things that maybe didn't work out, because we don't see that. It's not unicorns and butterflies all the time. I can tell you that. I know you guys will agree with me, because there are those times that you're like, I really messed up, or this didn't go right, or oh crap, what do I do? Those are times, right?
and
And
that's, I
you have
think, one of the most important parts of growth too. Is if
right.
it's almost like a narrative switch. It's like the minute that you have the confidence to try something, you try it, and as long as you're okay with the outcome being success or failure, if you can learn from that failure or laugh at that failure or find something good out of it, you're not failing. And I think as long as we can wrap our brain around that and just that constant cycle, you're going to find success somewhere.
And like Abbie said a while ago, it's never wasted. The
Yeah.
time or
Yeah.
the knowledge, you're going to get something out of that. Like, you better get something out of that. If you didn't, you're probably going to fail again, right? If you didn't learn
You're going
something,
to fail again anyway. That's just
well,
life.
that's true.
And I think we've had this narrative where it's like, if you're not, it's like the set mindset versus the growth mindset. I see like my kids will be like, I'm just not good at math. I'm like, okay, but that's not true, because you can learn it. So today you had a hard time with this. That doesn't mean you're not good at, right? And so learning the difference between, okay, like you said, I failed at this. That doesn't mean that there's not potential for growth or change or using those skills in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can take, I learned this in the retail especially, but you can take a problem or an issue and turn it into something really awesome, right? Like,
Yeah.
I used to do handbags, buy one, get one free, one day a year in December before Christmas. And it was like a crazy day and an awesome sales day. But I started doing that. The first year I did it was because I had so many bags that I was like, I need to get rid of some of these bags.
It was
Like,
a
what?
problem.
Like, I had a problem. I was like, what the heck? Like, how am I gonna? I just ordered too many. It was my own fault. But I'm like, I need the cash flow to pay for this stuff, and I need to get rid of these bags. So what am I gonna do? I'm like, it's a crazy idea. Let's see if it works. And it literally became something that people talked about and asked me, all, what day is your sale going to be? Well, I had to continue it then, because it got so big, but it was a problem, right? It was an issue I had that turned into one of my best sales days of the whole year,
It's
right?
amazing.
Which was pretty cool. So,
Yeah, I think you just have to keep that open mindset of, hey, man, there's going to be something good that comes out of this, and being able to have the guts to find it and put in the hard work to find that good.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back also to something that I don't remember which one of you said it, but it's true. When we're talking about doing things and people, I don't want to say copycat because I don't mean it in that way, but doing things and maybe it doesn't work for them. And I just did a little kind of bonus episode, and I talked about mission statements and values of your business. And I think just reflecting back on that, if you're valuing women and your mission is to make every woman feel beautiful, no, regardless of size, demographic, age, whatever it is, you're going to succeed on that. If that's what you're striving to do, and you form all of your decisions or most of your decisions around that, you're going to win. And I think that's why sometimes when another business tries to do what you do, but that's not their values, it doesn't work out.
I think it's that whole remembering your why, and everybody's why is very different.
Right.
So as long as it comes back to that, it's just like having your family holy grail and how you run your family. As long as all those decisions come back to that, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And I think too, it's okay to reassess that and look at it as you go. And I don't want people to think, oh, I tried this thing and it wasn't me and it didn't work and I'm stuck in it. Like, no, you can adapt that and change that and move forward. And I think that we often see vulnerability or, like we said, failure as a negative thing, but people really relate to that and can see that you're working towards something better. So it's always a good thing in the end. I know for us. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Deena.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we were fortunate that as teachers, we really sat down and looked at those values early on. Like our statement, like belong, be seen, be heard, be you. That was it. Like, we want to see you. We want to hear your story. We want you to be you, but feel the most you in your clothing. And with our training with our staff, all of our values are reflected in the way that we run our store and our business. And so we were fortunate in a way that we started with that mindset.
I'm going to tie into that. I actually was just having a conversation with another entrepreneur this morning who also does podcasts, Kimberly Evans, and she was just talking about how it's tough being an entrepreneur, but also how you can change at any point what you're doing. And it made me think of teaching. It was like, okay, so we came from these classrooms where it's very like one way. I mean, you have a little bit of freedom in what you do, but there's not tons of room to pivot. And what the neat thing about being a business owner is we could sell men's clothing tomorrow if we wanted to. I mean, I'm not going to, but
well, sure.
There's just
snowball could just go wild.
There's just so many options out there of things you can do. So why not try something?
Yeah. And I think when we chose the name Belong Lifestyle, we didn't choose Belong Clothing because for us, it really did envelop more than that. And we've been fortunate to be able to do some courses and use our space in different ways. And I'm just excited to see how that grows.
No, I love it. And I think too, I mean, all of us want to grow our business, but I feel like you guys were on such a rapid growth train. And I don't want to say it was accidental because I know it wasn't accidental, but I feel like your momentum, like you guys started off and all of a sudden I was like, holy crap, they're over here now. And they're like I said, when you first started, I was like, who is it? And I'm like, I know them. And now it's like everyone I talk to is like, oh yeah, Belong. And
I don't say it was accidental. Like, I don't think it was too like intentional. Like, we really just went with the flow of things. And I would say that's probably the biggest lesson is just listening to what people want and need and going with that. Because we could have taken it a totally different path and hit brick walls everywhere, but we've just been fortunate enough to have a really verbose community, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think also we've been fortunate that we did have those strong values in place and stuck to them while being adaptable to our market and our community. We were able to grow that in a way that still felt like us. So we've been very fortunate. And I want to shout out like Mackenzie yourself. We're actually in the physical space that you occupy that's beautiful, that you set up so amazingly. And like we can look around and everywhere we look, there's a woman who's helped us. And I just think that is an amazing legacy in itself. And it's something that we hope to be able to pass on to.
I love that. And I think that just goes back again to your community over competition, right? Working with people and taking that, whatever it is, and moving on and then passing that on to someone else too. Because I know that there's lots of people that are looking to you guys and saying, and you probably don't even know it, right? And they're like, they've made me feel, sorry, no pun intended, but that I belong. There's a place for me. I know, I'm not a teacher even. But there's a place for me, right? And you probably don't even know it, and it's happening, which I think is the real magic. Because when there's things that you don't even realize, and somewhere down the road, someone tells you that, it's just the feeling that you can't get anywhere else.
I think that would go for any business. Like, it's so easy to focus on the negatives and that one bad return and the one that yelled at you. But when there's like 11 billion good things to look at, I think any business just has to find that and focus on that. Yes, we learn from the bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, in this land of cyberspace, often it really does feel like you're putting something out there and you have no idea if it's being received. There's just radio silence. But we have women to this day coming in who've said, like, we followed you for 3 years on online, and this is my first time in your store, and I'm ready. I get it now. I'm in, and that happens all the time, and it's insane to me because it's just it speaks to the power of being yourself, but it also speaks to the power of using social media and not letting it use you. So don't get too trapped. If you're in your small business looking around and seeing these things that you think like, I can't do that, then don't do that. Figure out a way to be yourself and to put out your vibe and your message into the universe. And don't be frustrated if you don't get an immediate return on that. As teachers, I think we were set up for that, because teaching high school, you're like saying something really dramatic and everyone's like, right. What? And then later, like 3 years later, they're like, that was amazing. And you're like, really? Because you were like picking your nose or whatever. So that it's the same feeling online, right? And so I guess I would just encourage you, if you are a business owner listening to this, to just keep putting it out there and just keep doing it your way. And yeah, don't be afraid to adapt and change it, but make sure that it feels like you.
Oh, I agree. It's like people, like I get random messages from people about like, you're not on TikTok. Like, how come you're not on TikTok doing funny videos and whatever? And I'm like, and I don't really think I'm funny. Sometimes people tell me I am, but I'm like, I just don't have it in me to do a cool dance on TikTok, because that's not me. Like, I feel weird about that. So like, I just am not doing it. And maybe someday I'll venture over there. But for now, I'm like, I don't want to be unauthentic. I don't want people that know me to be like, that is not her. Because then it's just weird, right? It's just, see that. They can smell that a mile away. And
I feel like we need to do a dance to promo this podcast. Like, you're just asking for it.
We'll all go together Deena, TikTok dance.
Kind of what Deena said, or you even, Mackenzie, like, yeah, you might get there someday, but today's not the day. And then just set it on a shelf and worry about it later. Like, focus on what you're focusing on. You can only do so much. And for us too, we're like, wow, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And we were being so responsive rather than proactive with the growth that we experienced. And often we had to say, like, we want to do these things, but we cannot do them well right now. And so let's put that on a shelf and figure it out later. And that's okay too. Like, do that. Life is long. There's lots of time for everything. Do what you need to do now and learn as you go.
But do it. Like, I think that's the other thing that we've always said is just do something at least. And it might be a baby step and it might be little, but take that step forward and stop making excuses. There's never going to be a perfect day. Just do it.
Nope.
Whether it's in business or in fashion.
Abbie and I were talking before we hit record, and she's like asking me about why am I doing a podcast or whatever. And then I'm like, I was going to wait till the perfect day. And then I just was like, that's never coming. I'm never going to do it if I don't just do it. Right. And it's such good advice, because you just don't know. You never try, you get zero results, right? You have to take that leap. And you have, whether you just got
when you actually get into it.
Yeah. Like, it might just be an idea that you have, or it might be you have a business and you think you need to change, but you're not sure. Like,
it might be getting out of skinny jeans. You just got to do it.
Yeah. Still can't.
You gotta try it.
I get the saggy mom butt in the boyfriend. Can't do it. Someday I'm going to come in next time in Saskatoon.
Put it on the shelf.
All 100 pair. Just keep bringing me till one fit looks good. That's all I care about. Okay, so I think we've talked about lots of lessons here, like change, and like we're Nike, we're like, just do it. But I think I think that's such a good lesson, because fear stops us. Fear stops everybody. And
a sense of inadequacy, right? Like that sense of, I'm not enough. No, you're not. Get going and you'll learn it and you'll ask for help and it's okay. And you can watch all the YouTube videos, you can read all the books, you can get all the degrees. It doesn't matter until you start doing it.
Totally agree. Just do it. Nike's going to sponsor us.
Or shut us down.
Or shut us down. Sorry. I don't know if they're going to have to bleep us or what this editor does. Is there something you'd wish you had known before you started or along your journey?
I wish I would have known how many different possibilities there would be. Actually, maybe not. That might have scared me.
The oh crap moment of like, no, when you're in it, you don't realize it.
I just feel like this business community is a completely different world, and I wish I would have known that earlier to reach out to people.
Yeah.
And just find like-minded women and bounce ideas off of them.
And I think one thing is that we came in with a good attitude in that we were like, we're beginners, we don't know anything, but remember that you are valuable. So for example, when we would deal with people and we were like, oh, can we carry your clothing in our store? No, like, do you have the right for us to carry your clothing in our store? Like it is a switch, and it's a hard one, I think, as women, because we're always coming in sort of weirdly from that inferior position. I don't know why. As feminists, we do that, but we still do that. And so even in business, we're like, no, we are valuable. What value do you bring? And to keep that in mind as you go forward in your business as well.
I love that. And most important lesson or lessons, if there's more than one, that you can share, maybe for someone that's just starting out or that is in a business that is afraid to take that leap or make a change. You know, they're thinking about it, but
I think it just keeps circling back to that. You got to take that baby step. Like, it doesn't matter until you actually do something. Yeah, and you got to be true to you.
Yeah. I think that for me, it would be to use your gifts and to find someone who can do the things that you need to do. So I think, Mackenzie, you were even just saying beforehand about your husband starting a business and you saying like, here's the person you need for that. It's very valuable, instead of spending, 600 hours of your own time trying to build a website when you have no design skills. Maybe that's where you put the money and you do the things that you're good at. And I think we've been so fortunate, like Deena is amazing and her skill sets are so incredible, and they're all things that I don't have. So we've been fortunate as partners to be able to bring our gifts and to use them together and then identify, okay, this is not our gift, or, this is not your gift, Abbie. Don't do that anymore, or whatever, and be able to grow in that way.
I love that. And that's advice that I give all the time. If you don't know how to do something or you don't like it / aren't good at it, farm it out. Like for me,
use your time for what matters.
Like I was like, I have a commerce degree and I hate numbers. Like, so I was not even going to try to do that because, it was a waste of my time to do that when I liked trying on clothes and telling people how they fit. That's what I like doing. I was good at it. Right.
And that sold the clothes, not you sitting with the numbers.
That's right. Do things that can make you money as opposed to cost you in the long run. Right.
Yeah. And I think too, when people are using their true gifts, like it becomes very sincere and authentic and real.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge difference if I were to word a post as to if Abbie were to word a post. Like there's a reason why she does that. I mean, it's because we are using our gifts in their truest form that we are able to find success.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not to say that everything's fun all the time. Like there's a lot of boring hard work in every part of life, but to be able to just figure that out and delegate when you need to.
Exactly. And do things that make your life easier. Like totally not business related, but we started getting chef's plate. Also not an ad, but we started getting chef's plate. I was like, I am sick. They can advertise here if they want, but I was sick of figuring out what to make for supper. And I was like, why am I spending all this time? I'm just
resenting it. And
right? And that's just a little example. But like, if you're not good at social media, pay somebody else to do it, right?
And
You don't know how to
sometimes
do
it's a way
Tons of
of
great
helping someone
platforms out
else.
there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or,
Like,
employees, don't be afraid to say like, oh yeah, you're 21 and you know how to use the TikTok or whatever. Like, that's fantastic. Let them use their gifts and grow that too.
yeah, exactly. And also that makes, I think too, when we're talking about your team, then that makes your team important and special too, right? Because now you have
Everybody wants to feel valued.
That's right. Because now they have a job that they love that they're responsible for, right? I had one staff that mannequins were like her jam. And I just, like, after a while, I was like, you're just in charge of mannequins now. Like, I'm never going to change them. You're it. Because she was so good at it and she loved it. And it was like her job, right? And it made me feel good that she felt good. So
you can send us her number later.
Yeah. Well, you know her. She was a good, young, awesome staff member. You should hire her. Anyways, okay. So, like, final thoughts. I feel like we've talked about body image and we've talked about change and we've talked about doing it. And I love this episode because we are just three women that have similar ideas, but those things are all so important, right? Like, can't stress those enough. So if anybody has any final thoughts or anything they want to leave with people here, now's the time.
I would say is just find your people and do your thing. Believe in yourself and don't be scared to make mistakes.
Love it.
Love it.
Abbie, anything to add or anything different?
No, I feel like she handled it beautifully.
Oops, sorry.
I feel like that's like, I have to make that a clip that we can put on social media because that was very well said.
Do you want me to make your t-shirt? I'll make you a t-shirt.
Yes, please. Please make me a t-shirt. I have a lot of Deena's t-shirts actually that I quite enjoy. They're mostly baseball, but I love them. Okay. And obviously people are going to want to know more about you. I'm going to post on our social media so they have an idea, but where can they find you? Where can they hear more from you? See what you're about. Give us all your places.
Sure. You can come find us on Belong Lifestyle on Instagram or Facebook. We're also on Pinterest, and it's thebelonglifestyle.com if you want to see our full online store.
Love it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you being on. I appreciate you being friends. And I can just see we're going to get some messages about this episode because I think we hit a lot of really
Nike.
Good. Yeah. From Nike and Chester. But no, send us your comments right on the Instagram. Like, it's so important for us to get that feedback, right? Because like we feel these things, but we want to hear from other people. So pop us a DM or post on our page, whatever. We'll reach out to you. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And thank you for listening to today's episode. And we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Winning. Be sure to subscribe to get all of our new episodes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media and leave a rating and review wherever you listen to Winning. To catch all of the latest from us, you can follow Winning Podcast on Instagram at winning_podcast, Facebook at Winning Podcast, and on Twitter at Winning Pod. Winning was created and is produced by me, Mackenzie Kilshaw. Music created by Summer Furby. Editing by Seth Armstrong. Special thanks to Shauna Foster for voicing our opening. And of course, a huge thank you to this episode's guest. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.